And after that, if we want to do anything further, like any kind of a builds, we want to do any kind of compilations, or we want to do any kind of execution of the test cases, that all needs to be automated, needs to be triggered in a non-interactive mode here. And that's the reason, or that's the way that how this continuous integrations comes into the picture on this one. So when we talk about continuous integration, it's a process that how continuously we are going to integrate our source code into the shared code repositories, whatever the code repositories we have. So we are going to upload our codes into these code repositories, and we can make sure that the source code, we are always going to have the latest source code available there. The moment you check in the code, automatically the build processes, test cases, all these things should be executed, should be triggered immediately there. Diagrammic understanding, I will definitely provide you. I will show you like how these things really works over there and a proper diagram. But yes, this is the kind of definition of a CI, of a continuous integration, that you have to continuously commit or upload your source code into a shared repository, into a central repository. And the moment you do that, you don't have to do anything manually. Automatically, your builds, your test cases, all these different processes is going to be triggered, and you're going to get the proper results back over here. Now, it provides a lot of benefits, a lot of advantages there, which we are going to talk about over here in this one. Now, if you want to like get a complete picture over here, we can just use or open up this particular image, and we can see that how this fundamentally process really works there. First of all, these all processes are not something that were like immediately rolled out by some individuals, some by some couple of developers or something like that. These are the standard processes when we talk about the implementation of DevOps. So these processes are actually coming up in that specific sense here. So when we talk about the DevOps, so we have to take care of these standard processes as a standard implementation, and then only we will be able to get the results back over here in this one. So continuous integration is a process when we go for the implementation of DevOps. It's a very, very core and an important aspect over here. Now, if you can see here in this one, the developers are pretty much doing the commits, like developer one and developer two. They are responsible for doing the commits and the changes to the code repository. That's something which we are trying to do. And after that, what is happening, that that's the only task the developer needs to do. So earlier the developers were doing a lot of builds. They were checking out the code base. They were trying to run some test cases. So a lot of tasks they were doing, but not anymore in the DevOps, in the new processes. So only the code check-in needs to be done and uploaded to the version control system. So that's all they need to do. So once that is done, after that, what's going to happen is that the moment you check in the code base, automatically the build is triggered. So you can see here that automatically in a continuous integration server, which is also known as like CI server. So this is the server, this is the software where we will be like automating all these different processes. So definitely the moment you're doing the commits or changes, these changes will be picked up and an automated process will be triggered here. So first build process will be executed. There will be a build process which will be running, and after that the test cases will be executed there. If there is any kind of issues with the build process, the test cases will fail. If there is any kind of issues with the test cases, you will be able to see a failure email sending out as a notification. You can see like we are also sending up the notification, right? Whether it's a success or failure, we are sending up the notification, and that's something we are trying to specify here. So we are just trying to explain that what's the status of our particular deployment, and accordingly we will be able to get our particular results back over here. So that's a kind of configurations which is conducted over here in this case. All right. So this is a very standard process, that how the continuous integration process really gets implemented in the first place. And we kind of are using this process to make sure that now what's the advantage you're going to get? Because one thing is that okay, that DevOps is suggesting that we should be having these standard processes implemented. That's a recommendation which you are getting. But what's the value add on? Like, where is the benefit here? One benefit we can relate over here is that earlier developers were doing these build processes and test cases, manually, and it was like something which was taking a lot of time. But we can argue that also we can say that okay, let's hire a different person, like a separate person, which can perform these builds and these test cases they can run and they can give us the results. So we can easily hire up a new person and get it done from there. So that's also one of the solution we can do. But think in this way, let's say you working as a developer, you did some changes in the code, and now what happened is that your code is not working as such. Like, you did not validated your source code, you did not tested your source code, you just simply went did some couple of commits and just publish your code to the code repository. So that's all what you have done there. Now in such situations, definitely the overall quality of the code is impacted. If let's say I want to check out the code and I want to do some changes to the source code, I will first find out that what's the issue with the existing code, and then I will try to fix it up. So it's going to be a time consuming there. And similarly, when it comes like when we have so many developers working around different globe locations, different locations they are working, so it becomes very difficult to manage these activities manually as such there. So that's the reason why this automation is providing us. So this automation is saying that I will give you a mechanism that the moment you do some commits, like for example, if I do some changes in my version control system, automatically my build should be triggered, like like my CI server, whatever the CI server you're using. So automatically the build should be executed, and I will be able to have the builds, executions, test cases, all these things should be executed, and a proper response should be provided over here in this case. So that's something which is very easy because it's going to uh, perform all these things automatically without performing even a single command execution manually over here. So this is a kind of benefit you're going to get. And of course, there is a huge benefits which is available because ultimately you don't have to conduct or perform any particular things manually as such here in this case. So this is the like ultimate benefits which we get when it comes to the specific continuous integration process here. So continuous integration, again I'm repeating, it's a process of continuously committing your changes. The moment your changes are done and you want to like proceed with those changes, so you're just going to move those changes to the version control system, and from there automatically a build job or a process will be executed, and you will be able to get the results depending on the success or failure. The results will be coming up over here in this one. So from there you will be able to proceed with that. So success or failure you will be able to get depending on the email notification. So you can get the email notifications, you can run the test cases, you can run the compilation of the source code, you can perform the packaging of the source code. A lot of tasks and activities you can conduct, and you can perform it up when it comes to the continuous integration process here. So if I summarize this continuous integration process as a build and deployment automation, so I would not be saying it wrong. So we call it as a build and the test cases automation here. Now, after the continuous integration, we do have two important processes. A lot of time, continuous delivery and deployment is almost considered as the same only. Like if someone is saying that continuous deployment or someone is talking about continuous delivery, most of the time they refer it up as almost the same process there. But there is a slight difference in these two processes. So we have a continuous delivery and we have a continuous deployment. Now, continuous deployment is something in which we are like dealing with an application deployment. That's what we are trying to conduct over here. So with this, which means like we will be Like we are trying to roll out our applications to a specific environment. So that's something which we wanted to do. We wanted to perform over here. So continuous deployment is like taking up the source code from the from the code repositories and refer it up as such here. So that's what we call it as a continuous deployment here. So we are just not keeping our source code in the code repository. We are moving up that to the actual environment. So that's what we refer it up as a continuous deployment here. Now, when we talk about like because when we talk about these all processes like continuous integration, continuous deployment, so we collectively call it as an CI/CD pipeline. That's something which we refer over here. But we also have a kind of a terminology called continuous delivery here. So if you can see on this screen, continuous deployment is something which is being like in a single shot itself. You are going for the build, test cases, executions, the acceptance test or the different kind of a test cases you are going to execute. So you are in a single shot going for a different stages for a different steps there. But the moment you talk about the continuous delivery here. So continuous delivery is a little bit different. Now in continuous delivery, we are like not having any kind of automated deployments. Uh, it needs like someone to approve it. For example, I'm working into a financial organization, so I cannot decide that okay, I have done some changes, so my changes should be compiled, tested out, and then deployed up straight away to the production environment. So I cannot afford that. I have to take some downtime or I have to do the deployment in a downtime window only over here. So otherwise it's not going to work for me and it will be like a disaster there. So similarly, continuous deployment is for those processes, for those organizations who can take a chance or they can have an automation in such a way that the moment they have the code ready, they can deploy to the environment. But those organizations who are working on the mission critical applications or they are working up in some different environments, for them at least they have to go or they have to use some like approval or some kind of manual checks, or maybe they have some kind of a manual test cases to be executed. So accordingly the results they can go and they can go for the deployment here. So continuous delivery is something where you will be having a manual check on top of the existing processes as such here. So that's why there is a slight difference between the continuous integration, continuous delivery, and deployment. Continuous integration is going to be common across continuous delivery and deployment here. But yes, we are not talking about this as a manual process. We are purely having an automation over here in such a way that we can go and we can utilize these different standard processes here. So continuous delivery is for those organizations who cannot afford a kind of a downtime there. So for them, they really want to go and they want to have some manual checks. So continuous delivery can be used in that case. If you don't have any kind of manual checks and into a single go itself, you can go for the build, test cases, and deployment. You can go for the continuous deployment and you can get those details back there. So depending on that or depending on these results, you can decide that which process you want to follow. So continuous delivery maybe for those organizations who are using or working on the mission critical applications, and continuous deployment is like a very commonly I have seen in the startups and the non-critical applications where they can bring down the applications whenever they like have the code ready, they can go and they can deploy it there. So a lot of startups and organizations follow this kind of mechanisms because they don't want to wait for such a huge duration of time, and they want to just immediately go and perform the code deployments and roll it out to the production environment. So that's a process which is being followed by them there, right? So this is the slight difference which is available there when we talk about the three processes as continuous integration, continuous deployment, and the continuous delivery here. So that's a kind of process which is available here. right now. So this is how the typical CI/CD pipelines looks like. So you can see the same thing that, whether you talk about CI, whether you talk about CD, it's all going to be like triggered on the basis of commit. The moment you do the commits, the whole pipelines is going to be triggered, whether it's a build pipeline, whether it's a unit test cases, whether it's a, integration test cases, deployment to a staging environment or deployment to a production environment. You would see like all these different activities are going to be executed, and they are performed in such a way that automatically you are going to get the results back here. So this is what we call it as a typical CI/CD pipeline, where both the continuous integration and deployment is going to be considered over here in this case. So that's a kind of approach which we are going to follow here, right? So the benefit is very simple. It's like helping us for the smaller code changes, fault tolerances, faster release rate, more testing, and reduced cost. So these are the very high level of benefits which we typically get over here, because it really helps us to see like how the automation is going to be performed here. So again, if we talk about CI, if we want to summarize, so CI is the build automation and the test cases automation. And if we talk about the continuous deployment, so it's a deployment automation which we are trying to perform, we are trying to execute over here, and accordingly we are getting the results back here. Now there are different continuous deployment tools which is available there, using which we can deploy like a code deploy, octopus deploy, jenkins, teamcity, gitlab, bamboo, circle ci. A lot of these tools can actually be used for the continuous integration also, like if you want to trigger some fails and some test cases, so we can use that also. We have that kind of flexibility and option also, that so that we can go and we can configure those things so that we can get the desired values of the attributes here. So accordingly, we will be like able to get these different attributes and the benefits as such here. Now Ansible, now this is how it looks like. I'm just trying to show you a particular process here, that as the developer you checks in like a commit the codes in the GitLab. Automatically the build will be triggered in Jenkins for the build automations, test cases, everything. And once it's conducting, or once like a build is done, so uploading the artifacts to the JFrog artifactory. So the artifactory it will be published, and then later on, if like we want to deploy, like we want to host it up there. So using the Ansible, we can deploy, or we can use the Docker, we can use Kubernetes. So there are a lot of tools which is available there. Of course, depending on the code base which we are trying to deploy, and we are trying to host here. So accordingly, we will be able to get the results back here. So this is just a basic installation which we are trying to do. We are trying to set up so that we will be able to get the desired values here. Now, there is one more process which is there in the industry, which we also call it as in CI/CD automation, and this process is known as the Git Ops. Now, in our particular courses, we are also covering this Git Ops just to give you an insight that how these things are going to work, like how we are going for the automation here. So in Git Ops, you don't have to get the Jenkins or any other tools procured as such there. You don't have to install Bamboo, TeamCity, or those typical CI tools you don't have to install. All you have to do is that you have to just go and say that how this CI/CD automation needs to be done. So what you can do is that typically do a commit to the code check-ins, like to a code repository, and in the Git software, like a GitHub itself, we have the functionality that we can trigger the pipelines, and we will be able to get our particular responses back here. So you don't have to procure any tool like Jenkins additional over here. All you have to do is that you have to just go and do the code changes into the version control system, into the Git version control system, and then the changes will be published or will be modified from there itself. So that's a kind of a new process which is like being rolled out nowadays. Now, this kind of approach is known as the Git Ops, and it's also replacing DevOps, because in DevOps, unfortunately, there is a lot of tools which we have to set up and configure, and that kind of overhead is completely removed and eradicated with GitOps here. So GitOps is saying that the Git version control system or the Git platform is sufficient enough to handle any kind of requirements or any kind of automations here. So I will show you a small demo here, like where I have a pipeline created, like configured into my GitHub itself, and from there itself you will be able to perform the build automation. So without even like installing any Jenkins or any kind of other tools, I will be able to run the builds, and we will be able to get the responses back in. So let's see like how it happens. Now for that, you just need a GitHub account. The service which we are going to use is known as the GitHub Actions. We do have the other version control systems like a GitLab is there. So GitLab pipeline is available. We have the Bitbucket. So Bitbucket pipeline is available. Almost every tool is having its own, like a pipeline solution, and we can integrate or we can utilize that stuff here. So that's what we are going to talk about. We are going to learn here today that how we are going to use this pipeline executors, which can help us to implement the DevOps, and we don't have to go and perform any kind of implementations of the core DevOps tools as such here. So that's what we're going to talk about here. So what I'm going to do is in GitHub Actions. Now, the purpose of GitHub Actions is that it's like helping us with the CI/CD pipeline, CI/CD automation here. So with this one, what will happen that you will be able to perform the build automations, the test cases automations, and in fact, if you want to conduct any kind of a deployment, that is also something which is possible. Which means that it's a direct replacement of the tools like TeamCity, Jenkins, Bamboo, and all these different third-party tools as such here. So all you need is that you need an account. You can go for a free account or you can go for enterprise account. In both cases, you can use this GitHub Actions. You don't necessarily need a specific paid account or an enterprise account to use this feature. This is available to everyone. Now let's say I have a code repo. This is my code repository here. So in a traditional world, like if I'm working with a traditional DevOps, so what I have to do is that I have to have a Git repositories there. I have to install, configure a Jenkins server, and then I will be like performing the builds on that server. So there are some tasks and some setups which I may have to do in order to get that environment. Now, GitHub Action is saying that it will give you a kind of cloud execution. Cloud execution means that you don't have to create any infrastructure. Any number of builds you can trigger like 500, 200, 100, 300. You just have to use the setup, and you don't have to create any infrastructure for that here, which is great because sometimes we have faced this issue that our Jenkins is down, we are not able to build. There are some memory issues, there are some RAM issues, there are some file system issues. So these kind of issues can be resolved and eradicated, like when you feel like you are doing so many builds and you want to have a faster execution on the build side here. So I have option here, like you can see there is an action option. So this GitHub Action is something where you will be able to see your pipeline executions. Right now there are like 40 pipelines executions which is available there, like something that I have triggered over the period of time. But these pipeline executors are like a kind of a build process which is happening, or in fact whatever we are trying to configure into a pipeline, we will be like getting those triggered back over here. So what's the pipeline here? You can go and you can create a new workflow, and here there are different options here, like if you're working with a Java with Maven, you work with a Docker options, you want to go for the Kubernetes deploy. So we have these pipelines integrations which is available there. You can scroll down and see that how much options are available there, like harness integration, running a Docker image, doing a Go build, performing a kind of a Gradle build, doing a Maven build, Node.js. You name the integration which you feel like you want to do. That's going to have like it's going to be available over here. So all you have to do is that you have to just select this integration, that this so and so integration is required. That's it. No environment, no build server, nothing is needed over here. And that's the biggest benefit we talk about over here in this one. All right. So I already have a pipeline available with me. Like if I go to my code repo and there is a workflows here, I already have a pipeline available. Now in this pipeline, you can configure everything. Like I have configured that, my pipeline needs to be triggered when I do some changes to my master branch. So that details is available there. So it's also like having some list of commands which I want to trigger. So you have to tell these pipelines that what exactly task you really wanted to conduct, and you want to perform it up here. And accordingly, you will be able to get the results back here. So you want to run some test cases, you want to run some particular build processes, or whatever the standard activity you feel like you want to conduct, you will be able to get that particular options available there. So you're going to just write up in the commands that these are the like codes which you have to execute, and after that we will be like getting those options back here. Now I'm not doing any kind of a manual trigger over here. In fact, what I'm going to do is that because I have the pipeline already with me, so I will be like doing some code changes here. So we will see like how automatically the build is going to be triggered over here, and we will be able to get the results back over here in this one. So that's what we are going to talk about. We are going to learn over here so that we will be able to get the results back in this one. All right. Now, so here you would see like we are running on to an Ubuntu, whatever the environment you want to go for a Ubuntu platform, or you want to go for a Windows platform or Mac OS. So, whatever the platform which is supported, you can just go and select that option. And using that platform, what will happen that you will be able to run that particular builds over there. I'm also like doing a code checkout. I'm setting up the JDK which I require, and after that, I'm running the Maven build, which is like going to take care of the kind of build process and the test cases here. So whatever like it's there into my pipeline script, accordingly the tasks is going to be executed, and we will be able to get the desired values as such here. If these steps are wrong, if there is any kind of issues in the steps, so definitely we will be able to get the responses back over here, or we will be getting a wrong uh, responses over here. So it's very important that you have to provide or use the proper commands here. The developers can help you. As a developer, you can also configure it, and then you can just straight away go and you can configure these different options as such on this one. Right now, in order to trigger the pipeline, because as per the standard CI process, the all you have to do is that you don't have to trigger any build manually. A true CI process is purely automated there. But yes, all you have to do is that you have to just go and do some commits here. So I will be like opening the GitHub Actions here. You will see like there is no builds running like for a couple of duration. I will go to the code here. I will do some changes to readme.md file here. Like I'm doing some changes here, some code changes. And after that, the moment I'm doing commit changes, so what will happen? It's not even 1 second here, like automatically it's going to be triggered within just a couple of seconds. The whole executions is going to be done, and we will be able to get it performed over here. So that's a kind of flexibility you are getting over here in this one. You don't have like you did not perform any manual trigger over here. All you did is like you just ran, did some kind of a code changes, some modifications in the codes you performed. But the moment you did that code changes within a matter of seconds, not even minutes or hours, within a matter of seconds, the build really gets triggered, and you can see yourself itself that the build is triggered. You got the build process conducted. I mean, if I can show you the logs, The build process, the test cases, everything has been conducted, is being performed over here in this one. So that's a kind of flexibility which you will be able to get when it comes to this setup all along over here in this case. So it's a very important thing that the organizations who wanted to go for the DevOps journey should be going for the automation. This is just a one step ahead. There are a lot of things which is there in the DevOps, but certainly this is the very first and the necessary step which we have to take if we are going on the path of the DevOps journey there. So that's what we call it as a continuous integration process. The moment you are done with your changes, push your changes to the version control system. You can use the corresponding Git commands to perform the changes. And after that, automatically the pipelines are going to be triggered. You don't have to provision anything. So here you can see that the pipelines which we are executing right now, it's like purely available there, and it's all cloud, and you will be able to get the proper automations back over here in this one. So that's a kind of advantage which we will be able to get over here in this one. All right. So this is what we call it as a typical CI process, continuous integration, which also gets integrated with the continuous delivery and deployment. And collectively, they call it as a CI/CD automation in DevOps as such here, right? So you have a choice that whether you want to go for the standard processes like this, or if you feel like you want to go for the other processes, which is like going for a Jenkins instance, doing the installation. So there are like a lot of options which is available where you can go and you can utilize those options there. All right, now, right. So with this one, we are pretty much done with the short demo on this one. So I can take up the questions which is there in the chat window. Guys, please feel free to ask questions on this. We have detailed we have a proper understanding about the Jenkins, like how the Jenkins pipeline we create, how we integrate with the Sonar Cube, how we do the deploys, how we perform the test cases automation. you know right now we just have done a demo on the Java programming languages, but how the different programming languages support comes in, the processes for the Node.js, for the particular Python or different programming languages we do cover, so that we can have a proper understanding about those concepts as such there. So anyone having any kind of a doubts on this, please let me know.
Guys, anyone
As part
having any of the
as part
questions?
Hey, this is Amit. As part of the this course, what topics and tools will be
Yeah.
covered? And yeah,
Sure. So pretty much Jenkins, Git, and Docker, Kubernetes, Terraform, Ansible. These are the high level of topics which we are pretty much covering up over here. And there are a lot of concepts like Jenkins pipelines, CI/CD automation, continuous integration, continuous deployment. monitoring tools. So these are the very high level of topics which is available there. Plus there the particular link which we sharing, like the course link of the DevOps. So there you have all the tools listed out which we are actually covering up in this training here.
So after completion of this course, like what certificates we will receive, or we have to go through some certification for this one,
So test
or
will be given, some tests will be given to you by the
Mhm.
DevOps University, and then that certification from the DevOps University will be provided to you.
Okay, thank you.
Nimish, if you use the GitHub Actions, these CI/CDs automations, then you don't need anything. If you want to set up your own, like on like a Jenkins, Bamboo, TeamCity, so that's like something where you can go and you can use the AWS cloud to procure to create the virtual machines and do the installation of software on top of that. Uh, Parshuram, definitely the testers, automation testers is going to develop the test cases. You're just going to integrate it into the pipelines and triggering them automatically there. So you don't have to design. So, or you don't have to create any kind of test cases over here. So Jeffrey Jenkins is the most popular tool which is available there. And as far as the Git Ops, like this new trend is coming up. So GitHub Actions and the GitLab CI/CD pipelines, these are the two popular options which is available in the market. And these are popular because organizations are implementing them, and that's how they're using it. Nimish, yes, definitely Jenkins provides a very high level of customization. You can do anything typically with the GitHub, with the Jenkins. But GitHub Actions is a very limited and controlled environment, and a lot of times I have seen that the custom integrations are very very difficult, and we may have to do a very high level of like activities, or we may have to bring in some different tools altogether to achieve our requirements. So it takes a good amount of time when it comes to the GitHub Actions in order to design the pipelines and create that stuff there. Also, it's a relatively new topic, so right now also like the kind of study material and the content is also less as compared to the Jenkins.
So after completing this course, folks, they can go to DevOps engineer career. They
Yes,
can choose
we
that.
basically, yes, the participants which is coming up in this kind of trainings is like who want to pursue the XP, like the trainings on DevOps. So for them, we pretty much go for these kind of trainings.
Okay, so one more thing, just wanted to check, like, if we have automated everything here, all the test scenario and everything, then
Mm.
what would be the role of, tester?
Testers
Just
is going to
to,
write the test cases now, so you will be
yeah,
able
they
to
will
automate
provide that.
only.
Yes, they will
Yes.
provide the test cases and we will automate here. And after any failure, then developer will work. Then after that, there won't be any scope of the tester. So, I mean, we are reducing here the
No,
scope of the
it's
tester, or like,
the
no.
automation is always something which is going to reduce the scope of the people, right? But
Mhm.
it's not like you are always going to stuck with there. So today you are having 20 features. Next month you're doing some development. You may have like 30 features added up there. So who is going to write the test cases? So
Mhm.
automation testers work is not one time. This is also kind of a myth which is having that it's a one-time activity for them. Since the software is continuously evolving, we do require like a new test cases there, and in that case definitely the QA and the automation engineers are required in that part.
Thanks.
Anyone having any kind of doubts, guys?
So, I mean, going forward in IT career, this is also useful for the tester to understand these tools, right?
That's why the manual testers are converted to the automation testers,
Okay.
and it's already a change. It's not like something that DevOps has done. Before DevOps, when people were talking about DevOps and all, I was working in certain organizations where they removed the they removed like the manual testers, and they had all these automated testers available there.
So, but in this scenario, if we'll talk about then the the automation that will be done by DevOps engineers. So then what a tester will do? They will
See,
only provide the test cases, right?
testers
So
is like responsible for providing the test cases, right?
right.
So
So
if
like
test
you are saying like earlier nowadays folks are moving from manual to automation, right? So what tests are actually doing in automation here? They will not get any
writing up the
ability
test
to.
cases, writing up the
Yeah.
test case
So that is the manual task, right?
automation out of the if you want to do some automation, so someone has to do some manual task, right? So
Right.
automation
So
is not
tester.
we are not talking about the artificial intelligence over here. So what the automation testers is going to do is that take up the requirements. Let's say I want to do a login to my website, to my application.
Mhm,
So manually we go and click on login. We provide a username, password, right? Now, if
mhm.
you want to do it automatically, so the logics has to be created by the QA professional, by the automation engineer. That rather than providing from the GUI, I want to like pass on my credentials through some through some scripts, run some curl command, hit on that. Just giving an example, but
Mhm.
it has to be like in such a way that no one requires to do these activities manually. So earlier, people were doing the test cases like they were logging to the application, clicking on the login button, doing some workflows. So all these things are being done automatically with the automated test
Just to.
cases.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So earlier, if they were like 20 manual
No,
testers,
so I mean, what they
now,
will do, they
yeah,
will create these manually, right? But this will be done. The automation will be done by the DevOps engineer. So I mean, I just wanted to understand what they will. I
DevOps
mean, after.
engineer
Yeah.
is only going to run like integrate these test
Okay.
cases into the pipelines, show
Mhm.
so that it gets triggered automatically. But
Yeah.
someone has to develop these test cases, and that's where the
Mhm.
automation engineers comes into the picture. So they have their own different set of activities.
Okay. Thanks.
You can say DevOps engineer as a kind of some kind of aggregator.
Okay. So that can be this work can be done by a developer as well. Then why we need DevOps engineers?
No, we are not. Anything can be done by anything in the IT world, but the thing is that with a child, the developers already have a kind of like a huge commitments and load. So that's why this new DevOps role is being being rolled out. Earlier, developers were only doing all this work, but now they are only focusing on the development and all these activities supposed to be done by a different professional, and that's what we call it as in DevOps there. That's the reason why we call it as DevOps, right? That it's going to take care of some of the activities of devs and operations here.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more
Anyone else?
questions, guys?
Just one question from my side. This is Rohit. I just want to ask, what is the prospect that an automation engineer, automation tester can get in the DevOps side? Like, suppose I'm having close to 9 years of experience in automation, and I want to pursue my future activities in DevOps side. So, how I can proceed? Like nowadays,
See, training
companies
is the
always
first.
look for
Mm,
experience, not they.
No,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
understand your concern. So, when these kind of things happens, definitely relative experiences matters a lot. So initially there will be a struggle for you to find out a job opportunity where they will be like okay with that part there. So shifting up from an existing role to a DevOps is a little bit difficult initially there because you have a huge experience in different role there. So in that case, usually what I have seen is that like a lot of people actually taking up a training on DevOps, and then they are like simply trying to shift it up in their current organization itself. So the advantage they are going to get is that it's like an easy movement they will get in the organization as part of the skill up. And secondly, when they go back with that and they have that into their resume, they can easily show it as a relative experience, which is again a kind of like a kind of wrong information they are giving. But if we have to somehow get started with DevOps, we have to do that, because no organization is going for it's not like you are working as a testers and then you can go and have like a kind of 9 years in DevOps there. So it's not something which is possible unless you do some switch over in your organization and somehow show that rather than 9 years experience in testing or something like that, you have in DevOps like a 3 4 years, and then that's how you will be able to shift up there. So initially definitely it's a difficult task, or you may have to look for a job opportunity where you may have to join a DevOps engineer, like a junior DevOps engineer or something like that, learn the things, and then again go for a higher role on that part. So initially you have to do a little bit compromise in this case, because the nature of this role is very very critical. So that's a problem here.
Yeah, thank you.
And what's the difference between the continuous integration, continuous deployment?
Your voice
Something,
is not clear actually.
yeah. Am I clear now?
Yeah.
Yeah. A difference between the continuous integration and deployment. Like sometimes the developer may push his code, but after like multiple pushes, he wants to deploy the code. Right? Like sometimes deployment happens. So like when continuous integration, then continuous deployment will come in this.
The continuous integration is the first stage, like something which is like a stage one there. So if you have only continuous integration available, so you will be just having a build automations, test cases automations triggered. That's it, nothing more than that. If you like extend your pipeline and you also like after the test cases you also configure the deployment, so we call it as an CI/CD pipeline, continuous integration and continuous deployment over here. So that's just a step two for you.
Like Jenkins is only the continuous integration tool, or it will be the deployment tool also. Jenkins.
A lot of tools are available there, so it's one of the tool, but we have a lot of tools available in that aspect for that part here.
Thank you.
All right, so anyone else having any kind of doubts, guys?
Thank you so much for your time.
Sure.
Manoj.
Thank you.
Okay, we have got a question on the chat window, I guess. If 10 developers working on one project, then how
Parshuram,
many
the thing
DevOps
is that
engineer?
the
Yeah.
DevOps engineers will be like a very few. I have 200 developers, 100 developers in India and 100 developers in US. So we are like only two DevOps engineers supporting them. So usually the number of DevOps engineers will be less in the organizations when it comes to that. All right. Good. So thanks everyone for joining today, guys.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Okay.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you. Thank you all for attending this session. I hope all of your questions are being answered. We have the recording of this session and we'll be sharing this recording on our YouTube channel in couple of hours. So you can subscribe to our YouTube channel for accessing this recording. One more thing, please provide your valuable feedback on a Trust Pilot. It will not take much of your time. So just click on the link and please provide your feedback. It will help us in future and it will definitely, motivate us. Also, I have shown you one slide earlier while starting the session. So there is this discount of 10% going on for this discount is available only for the webinar day. People who wants to enroll for the course can avail this offer. We have shared the link over the chat window. You can click on that link and directly go on our website and avail this offer by clicking on the link which has been given over the chat window. So once again, guys, thank you. Thank you so much for attending this session.
Thank you.
We keep on conducting these webinars every month. So guys, follow us on the LinkedIn channel also, so that you can get the updates of the regular webinars which we keep on conducting every month. Thank you all. Thank you for joining the session.